Story 1, The Ghost Town Order. Jake Mercer wiped pizza grease off his palms and stared at the wall clock over the oven. 11:47 p.m. The red second hand crawled like it was mocking him. "Hey, Vinny," he said, tugging off his cap. "That's 10 hours. I'm done." Vinny Russo, owner of Mama Rosa's Pizzeria, didn't look up from the register. He was counting bills like they were confession tokens. "Not yet, kid. One more run." Jake froze halfway through untying his apron. "You're kidding." Vinny finally looked up, short, stocky, mid-50s, sweat turning his collar translucent. "You think Rosa's name gets out there by turning down customers? We deliver, no matter what. You know the motto." Jake clenched his jaw. Deliver no matter what. He'd heard it so many times it might. 171, Cactus Hollow Road, outskirts of Flagstaff. No apartment number. No phone number. Just the note, gate code 1962. He frowned. Never heard of that street. Vinny shrugged. Customer said it's new. Out near the old Route 66 turnoff. Jake felt his stomach tighten. That area was mostly scrub desert, abandoned diners, burned-out motels, and the dark silhouettes of the San Francisco peaks. In the distance. "Rain's comin' down like hell," he muttered. "You sure this isn't some prank?" Vinny grinned, showing teeth that didn't quite match. "They paid cash. Go make some history, Mercer." Jake wanted to quit right there. But he couldn't, not with rent due and his little brother, Dylan, waiting at home with hospital bills piling up. He sighed. "Fine. But if I don't come back?" "I'll eat your tips," Vinny said, already turning away. Outside, the night had drowned in rain. The neon sign of Mama Rosa's flickered in the storm, ROA sputtering red against black. Asphalt. Jake ducked into his beat-up '94 Camaro, a faded blue relic that rattled when he turned the key. He tossed the pizza box on the passenger seat and exhaled fog onto the windshield. One last drop. Then sleep. He eased onto the wet road, wipers squealing like dying birds. The city lights faded behind him, replaced by long stretches of highway bordered by saguaros and barbed wire. Every few miles, a rusted diner or gas station blinked by like an echo from another time. Static whispered on the radio. He switched stations, country, then oldies, then silence. Only the rain remained. At mile marker 17, a gas station's weak neon sign emerged from the fog, Earl's Service Stop. Jake hesitated, then pulled in. The bell above the door jingled with a limp sound as he entered. The place smelled like old oil and wet concrete. Behind the counter stood a man who looked like he'd been waiting all night just for him. Tall, gaunt, wearing a denim jacket too. Big for his frame. His smile was wide and unmoving, too wide. "Evenin', driver," the man said, his voice stretched thin. "Rain's got teeth tonight, don't it?" Jake forced a polite nod. "Yeah. You know how to get to Cactus Hollow Road?" The man's grin twitched, as if a string had pulled at the corner of his mouth. Cactus Hollow. Ain't heard that name in a long time. Jake frowned. "It's supposed to be new." The man didn't blink. "Everything out there's old, son. You'll see." He pointed a long finger toward the back window. "Keep straight past mile 19. When you see the sign that says Welcome to Cactus Hollow, a place to call home, you'll know you're there." Jake pulled out his phone to check the GPS, but there was no signal. "You got a map?" "Don't need one," Earl said. "They'll be expectin' you." Jake felt a chill crawl up his neck. "Who will?" The man's smile didn't waver. "The Harlows." Jake left without saying another word. The bell above the door didn't ring this time. The rain worsened as he drove. Lightning flashed across the desert, revealing outlines of cacti bent like watchers in the dark. At mile 19, a sign materialized through the downpour. Welcome to Cactus Hollow. A place to call home. Below it, faded graffiti read, turn back. Jake's grip tightened on the wheel. Yeah, no thanks, he muttered, but he drove on. The road narrowed, cracked, then turned to gravel. Soon, a wrought iron gate appeared, flanked by stone pillars with lanterns glowing dim orange. He leaned out, entered the code 1962. The gate opened with a metallic groan. On the other side, time felt wrong. The houses were all perfectly preserved, pastel colors, white fences, vintage cars with chrome still gleaming despite the rain. A 62 Chevy Bel Air sat in a driveway, its headlights flickering like breathing eyes. Every porch light was on. Curtains trembled, as if someone inside had just stepped away from the window. Jake parked in front of 171, a peach-colored house with a green lawn that shouldn't exist in the Arizona desert. He grabbed the pizza, stepped into the rain, and approached the door. Before he could knock, it swung open. A woman stood there, mid-30s, blonde curls, floral dress. Her smile was perfect but too still, like a photograph. Why, hello there, she said cheerfully. You must be from Mama Rosa's. Her eyes glimmered faintly in the light. Not red, not white, just wrong. Jake swallowed. Yeah. Large pepperoni. Paid in cash, right? She nodded and turned. Hank. The pizza boy's here. From deeper inside the house, footsteps echoed. 3 figures appeared, a man, a teenage girl, and a small boy, all smiling. All with the same fixed expression. Jake's breath hitched. Family photo come to life. The man, tall, clean-cut, hair slicked back, reached into his wallet and handed Jake a wad of bills. Keep the change, son, he said warmly. It's a long way from town. Jake looked down. The cash was old, pre-1980s bills, crisp but faded at the edges. Thanks, he said uneasily. You guys have a good night. Won't you come in for a moment? The woman asked. It's awful wet out there. Jake shook his head quickly. Appreciate it, ma'am, but I've got other orders. Her smile didn't move. That's a shame. We love company. For a second, lightning flashed, and he saw something in their eyes. A faint luminescence, like a cat's in the dark. He backed away, muttering, "Take care." As he turned to leave, he noticed something near the porch, Polaroids, dozens of them, hanging from a clothesline strung under the awning. Each photo showed smiling people. Delivery men, mail carriers, handymen, standing beside the Harlows. All with the same glassy grin. Jake froze. His throat went dry. Then, one photo caught his eye, the man in it wore a Mama Rosa's cap. He dropped the pizza bag and bolted for his car. The Camaro sputtered to life just as shadows began to move behind him, silhouettes stepping off porches, one by one, all turning their heads toward him in eerie unison. Men, women, children, every face identical, every smile sharp in the rain. Jake slammed the accelerator. Tires screeched on wet gravel. In the rearview mirror, the figures started running, impossibly fast, closing the distance, their glowing eyes streaking through the dark like fireflies of hell. He roared past the gate, fishtailed onto the highway, and didn't look back until the rain began to thin. When he did, the desert behind him was empty. No town. No lights. Just sand and thunder. Jake's phone buzzed suddenly, 1 bar of signal. A text from Vinny. Everything okay? Did they tip you? Jake stared at the cracked screen, breathing hard. His hands were trembling, the bills still in his pocket. He unfolded one, an old $20 note, stamped with the face of Andrew Jackson, serial number faded nearly to white. When he flipped it over, he noticed a faint brown stain, not from water. From blood. Jake didn't stop driving until the Camaro's engine coughed for mercy. He finally pulled over at a truck rest stop outside Flagstaff, a ghost of a place, lit only by a single buzzing light over a soda machine. The storm had passed, leaving behind air thick with the smell of wet asphalt and ozone. He sat there, engine idling, chest heaving. The rain on his windshield looked like static. What the hell was that? He tried to steady his breathing. Just people messing around. Maybe a cult thing. Or a movie set, right? But when he reached into his jacket pocket, the Polaroid was still there. He didn't remember taking it, but there it was, a square photo with faded colors and glossy edges. It showed him, Jake Mercer, Mama Rosa's cap and all, standing in front of that peach-colored house. And next to him, the Harlow family, smiling like mannequins. Jake stared at his own grin in the photo. It wasn't his smile. It was too wide, too strained. And his eyes looked wrong. He rolled down the window and flung the Polaroid into the night. Then he drove. By the time he reached his apartment, the clock read 3:27 a.m. His body ached, his thoughts buzzing like a hornet nest. He parked crooked, stumbled up the stairs, and fumbled his keys twice before getting inside. The small apartment smelled of laundry detergent and old coffee. On the couch, his younger brother Dylan was asleep, thin blanket pulled over his legs, oxygen concentrator humming beside him. Jake exhaled in relief. At least one thing's still normal. He collapsed into the armchair across from him, soaked clothes clinging cold to his skin. But he couldn't rest. The scene replayed in his head, over and over, the grinning faces, the glowing eyes, the Polaroids. When his phone buzzed, he almost screamed. A new message. Unknown number. You forgot your tip. Jake's blood ran cold. He scrolled up, there was no previous message history. He stared at the text for a long minute, then threw the phone onto the coffee table and rubbed his eyes. Spam. Some creep using a spoof app. But deep down, something gnawed at him. Because he hadn't told anyone about the order. The next morning, sunlight crept in through the blinds, but it brought no comfort. Jake barely slept. He dropped Dylan off for dialysis, then drove straight to Mama Rosa's. The smell of garlic and fryer oil hit him the moment he stepped in. Vinny was already there, wiping down the counter with the same filthy rag he'd used for years. You look like hell, Vinny said. Not unkindly. They stiff you or what? Jake dropped the old bills on the counter. Where'd that address come from? Vinny squinted at them. What address? Cactus Hollow. You gave it to me last night. Vinny frowned. Kid, I didn't send you out past midnight. We closed early, storm knocked out half the power. Jake's stomach turned. That's not possible. You handed me the slip yourself. Vinny shook his head. No slips after 11. Check the system. Jake leaned over the terminal. No record. No receipt. No Cactus Hollow. The last logged delivery was at 10:42 p.m., Jefferson Street. He swallowed hard. Vinny, I have proof. The money's old, and there was a gate, houses, people. Vinny snorted. Sure. Next you'll tell me Elvis made the order himself. Get some rest, Mercer. You're seeing mirages. Jake's hands trembled as he pocketed the bills again. Mirage? Then how did he still have the Polaroid image burned into his mind? He left without another word. That night, he tried to forget. He cooked Dylan's favorite instant noodles, watched reruns of The Twilight Zone, and tried laughing at the irony. But sometime past midnight, he heard something. Outside, a slow, rhythmic tap-tap-tap against his apartment window. He froze. The apartment was on the second floor. He turned off the TV and crept toward the sound. The curtains fluttered slightly from a weak draft. He pulled them aside. Nothing. Just rain droplets and a distorted reflection of himself. Then he noticed the handprint. Small, pale, smeared against the glass, like someone had pressed from the outside. Jake backed away slowly. His breathing quickened. He looked at Dylan, still sleeping soundly under the glow of the concentrator light. He picked up his phone. "Jake, this is Officer Tully with Flagstaff PD. Got a few questions about last night." Jake exhaled, half laughing in relief. Jesus, finally. He opened the door. 2 officers stood there, rain dripping off their coats. One was Tully, a heavy-set cop with tired eyes. The other was younger, expression unreadable. "Sorry to bother you," Tully said. "We had a report of someone speeding near the old Route 66 last night. You fit the description." Jake hesitated. "Yeah, that was me. I was chased by..." He stopped himself. "Don't say glowing eyes. Don't say ghost town. Some people. They came out of nowhere." Tully raised a brow. "People? There's nothing out that way. Just empty desert." Jake crossed his arms. "I'm telling you, there was a gated community. Cactus Hollow. Street lamps, houses." The younger cop cut in. "Cactus Hollow?" He glanced at Tully. "Didn't that?" Tully shot him a look that said shut it. Jake noticed. "What?" The older officer sighed. Cactus Hollow was a planned community. Broke ground in 1961. Never finished, funding ran out after a fire wiped the area in '63. Nothing left but rubble. Jake's skin went cold. "No. I was there. Last night." Tully studied him for a moment, then scribbled in his notebook. "You been drinking, son?" Jake's fists clenched. "No." The younger cop shifted uncomfortably. "We'll check it out. See if there's anything." He looked uneasy. Tully nodded curtly. "You get some sleep." They turned and left. Jake shut the door and leaned against it, heart pounding. Outside, the rain began. Again, soft at first, then heavier. And faintly, just beneath the sound of thunder, came laughter. Children's laughter. 2 days later, Jake got a call from Tully. "Just got back from your Cactus Hollow," the officer said. His voice sounded different, like he was forcing calm. "Place is empty. Bare desert. Only thing we found was a sign, half-burned, says welcome to Cactus Hollow. A place to call home. No houses, no roads, nothing." Jake's grip tightened on the phone. "That's impossible." "Also," Tully continued, "your car. We found marks on it. Deep scratches. Not from branches." Jake's throat went dry. "What kind of marks?" There was silence. Then, like claws. That night, Jake couldn't sit still. He kept pacing, checking the window, checking on Dylan. Every shadow in the room seemed to twitch when he turned away. He finally decided to drive back, just to see. He told himself it was for closure, but it felt more like obsession. The highway was dry this time. Clear sky. No rain. But when he reached mile 19, his stomach dropped. The sign was there again, same as before, fresh paint gleaming under moonlight. "Welcome to Cactus Hollow. A place to call home." And beyond the sign, the faint orange glow of streetlights. Jake's breathing quickened. "No," he whispered. "They said it burned down." But when he drove forward, the gate loomed into view, clean, untouched, lanterns flickering just like before. As the gate creaked open, a song drifted through the air, an old jingle from the 1960s, faint and warped. Musical note, "Welcome home, neighbor. Welcome home to stay." Musical note. Jake's hands shook as he gripped the wheel. His phone lit up suddenly, unknown number. He answered without thinking. Jake Mercer, a woman's voice said sweetly. You still owe us a visit. Static swallowed the line. He dropped the phone and slammed the gas. But as he looked up, headlights cut through rows of. And when he finally burst back onto the highway, shaking, panting, the rearview mirror showed only empty desert again. The radio flickered to life by itself. The same jingle played softly. Musical note. Welcome home, neighbor, you'll never drive away, musical note. Jake killed the engine. He sat in the dark, trembling, the faint smell of wet sand filling the car. Outside, the wind whispered through the sagebrush, almost like laughter, almost like his name. Jake didn't tell anyone about returning to Cactus Hollow. He couldn't. Who would believe him? Even he barely believed himself. But the Polaroid, the one he'd thrown out, had found its way back. It was waiting for him that morning, tucked under his windshield wiper. Same picture. Same fake smile. But now, there was someone new in the frame. Behind the Harlow family, half blurred by motion, was another figure, a shadow with the outline of a camera. Jake's own jacket. His own posture. It was him. Taking the photo. He stood in the parking lot for a long time, the Arizona wind cutting through his jacket. Then he said it out loud, voice dry. This is impossible. But impossible had stopped meaning anything since that night. At Mama Rosa's, Vinny was barking orders at a new hire. When he saw Jake, his tone softened, slightly. You're back, kid. Good. Thought you'd gone and quit on me. Jake dropped a folded map on the counter. You ever see this address before? Vinny glanced at it. Cactus Hollow? Yeah, the one you dreamed up? I didn't dream it. Jake leaned in. I was there again. Vinny froze mid-swipe of his rag. Don't start that crap, Mercer. You're pale as dough. Take a break, or see a shrink. Jake's hand slammed the counter hard enough to rattle the tip jar. They called me, Vinny. The same people. From a number that doesn't exist. Vinny's eyes flickered uneasily. Look, I don't know what's happening to you, but... Jake cut him off. Then why did your system delete the order? He pointed at the terminal. You keep paper backups, right? Show me the log. Vinny hesitated, chewing his lip. Fine. Knock yourself out. He unlocked the filing drawer and stepped aside. Jake rifled through folders, delivery slips, receipts, route maps. Nothing dated past October 12th, the night of the storm. But when he pulled the folder labeled Archives, something fluttered out, a small, grease-stained envelope. Inside, a crumpled delivery receipt. Order number 8871, address, 171, Cactus Hollow Road. Signed, Mrs. Harlow. The timestamp read October 12, 1962. Jake's mouth went dry. Where'd this come from? Vinny stared. That ain't possible. Mama Rosa's didn't even exist back then. Jake backed away slowly. They're still ordering. He spent the rest of the day driving. First to the Flagstaff Historical Society, then the county clerk's office, then a dusty storage building behind the library that. Development, 27 missing. Cactus Hollow, a planned suburban community 2 miles west of Route 66, was destroyed by a sudden brush fire late Sunday night. 14 confirmed dead, 27 unaccounted for. Investigators suspect electrical faults. One survivor, Earl Benton, gas station clerk, refused to comment. Jake stared at the photo grain, rows of identical houses, smiling families posing for a welcome home ad. In the corner of the image was the same peach-colored house. And in front of it, the Harlows. By the time he left, dusk had fallen. He drove north, past the same empty diners. The same wind-torn billboards. At mile 19, he slowed. The sign was gone again. Only black desert and the faint smell of ash. But something made him stop, a flicker of static on his car radio. He twisted the knob. A voice bled through, faint, warped, mechanical. Jake Mercer, welcome home. He froze. The air inside the car felt heavy. Who is this? We kept your room. Ready. Then static, and laughter. Jake killed the radio, hands shaking. He turned the key, but the engine wouldn't start. Only a dull click click click. Not now, he hissed. He slammed the wheel. Not now. The desert outside was silent, no wind, no insects. Then, through the windshield, he saw lights. A row of soft orange glows, street lamps, flickering back to life. Across the dunes. Cactus Hollow was rebuilding itself. He stepped out, heart pounding. The air was cool, metallic. Each step brought the faint crunch of gravel that shouldn't exist here anymore. Ahead, through the dim orange haze, the outlines of houses began to form, shimmering like mirages, solidifying the closer he got. He reached the gate. It hung open, swaying gently. Beyond it, silence. Jake, a voice said softly behind him. He spun. The gas station clerk, Earl, stood a few feet away, denim jacket soaked in shadow. Didn't I tell you? Earl said, smiling that same unblinking smile. They'd be expectin' you. Jake backed away. What are they? Earl's grin widened, stretching too far. Neighbors. Just neighbors. Don't you remember moving in? I never. Jake stopped. Because for a split second, the houses ahead looked familiar. The lawns, the driveways, even the mailbox that read Mercer family. His own last name. He stumbled. Backward. No. No, that's not real. Earl's eyes gleamed faintly. Oh, it's real. Has been since '62. You just keep forgettin' which side you're on. Then, before Jake could blink, Earl was gone, dissolved into the air like smoke. Jake ran. He didn't care where. He just needed out. But the road behind him looped endlessly, every turn led back to the same gate. The same street, the same smiling houses. The sky above shimmered with pale static, as if reality itself was a bad TV signal. He finally stopped in front of 171 Cactus Hollow again. The porch light flickered on automatically. The door opened before he touched it. Mrs. Harlow stood there, still wearing her floral dress, still smiling. Welcome back, Jake, she said softly. We were so worried when you left. Her eyes glowed faintly under the porch lamp. You look tired. Come in. Supper's getting cold. Jake's throat tightened. Stay away from me. But she stepped forward, and behind her, the others appeared again, Mr. Harlow, the children, all identical smiles under flickering light. He turned to run, but the street was full of them now, every house. Spilling open, figures stepping out into the night. Hundreds of faces. All smiling. Stay, Mrs. Harlow whispered. You belong here. The sound that followed wasn't human. It was a chorus. Hundreds of voices speaking the same words at once. Welcome home, neighbor. Jake screamed and sprinted for his car. He didn't look back as the headlights carved through fog and figures. Through twisting roads that shifted and blurred. When he burst onto the open highway again, there was no sign of pursuit, only silence. His phone buzzed once more. Unknown number. He hesitated. Then answered. Jake Mercer, said Vinny's voice, but wrong, stretched, echoing. You left without clocking out. Then static. He drove until sunrise, not daring to stop. When he finally did. At a diner 50 miles away, he staggered inside and ordered black coffee. The waitress poured it without a word, eyes on the old bills he handed over. These are antiques, she said. He forced a weak smile. yeah, I've had a long night." When she walked away, Jake noticed the Polaroid again, now sitting beside his cup. But it had changed. The Harlows were gone. Only Jake remained, smiling the same perfect smile. Behind him, the sign read, "Welcome home, Jake." He stared at it until the edges of the photo began to blur, and then his reflection in the window smiled back at him, even though he hadn't moved a muscle. 3 days after Jake Mercer disappeared, Mama Rosa's pizzeria was running like nothing had happened. Vinny Russo had new drivers, new orders, and the same old rule painted above the register: deliver, no matter what. Still, something hung in the air. The ovens hissed too loud, the phones rang even when no one was calling. And when the last driver clocked out each night, Vinny could swear he heard footsteps pacing in the hallway behind the walk-in freezer. He told himself it was the rats. Then, one Tuesday night, the phone rang again. The voice on the other end was smooth, polite, and oddly distant, like it came from an old recording. "Good evening. I'd like to place an order. Large pepperoni. Delivery to 171, Cactus Hollow Road." Vinny froze, fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Say that again?" "Cactus Hollow," the voice repeated. "Gate code, 1962. Static whispered on the line. Vinny almost hung up, but then he thought of the cash. He was still short on payroll. And Jake, well, Jake had been acting strange anyway. Maybe he'd skipped town, maybe not. He scribbled the address down, muttering, "One more delivery. No matter what." The new driver's name was Tony Ramos, 19, fresh out of high school, acne scars, and nervous energy. He'd only been there a week. "Boss," Tony said, "it's almost midnight." Vinny waved him off. "It's a quick drop, outskirts. Follow the GPS. Big tip." Tony shrugged. "Sure thing." He grabbed the insulated bag and headed for the door, humming a pop tune. Vinny watched him go, a strange knot twisting in his gut. The rain had just started again. By 1:45 a.m., Tony still wasn't back. Vinny texted twice. Called once, no answer. He told himself the kid's battery died. Still, he locked up early and poured himself a whiskey in the office. The bottle was half empty when the doorbell jingled. "Tony?" he called. No answer. He stepped out, and there it was, sitting on the counter, the pizza bag. Dry. Untouched. And resting on top, a Polaroid. Vinny picked it up with shaking fingers. It showed Tony standing in front of a peach-colored house, smiling too wide. Behind him, the Harlow family. And just at the edge of the frame, barely visible, a familiar shape, Jake's Camaro. Vinny dropped the photo like it burned. No, no, no. The phone rang again. He stared at it, throat dry, before finally answering. "Vinny Russo," he said hoarsely. Static. Then a woman's voice. Gentle as silk. "Hi, Vinny. We loved the pizza. But we never got our delivery boy back." Click. The next morning, the Flagstaff PD found Mama Rosa's still open, lights buzzing. No Vinny. No Tony. Just the cash register open, and a single Polaroid taped to the counter. Jake and Vinny both smiling. Behind them, the Cactus Hollow sign. Jake's journal, recovered fragment, date unknown. "I'm not sure how long I've been here. The clocks don't move right. The sun rises twice some days and not at all others. But the streets stay clean. The air smells like new paint. The neighbors wave every morning, and the kids play hopscotch in the same square of pavement, over and over and over. Sometimes I remember things, my brother, the Camaro, rain on the windshield, but the memories blur. Fast, like trying to hold smoke. Mrs. Harlow says I should stop worrying, says I'm home now. Earl comes by sometimes. He says there's always new folks moving in. Says I'll have company soon. He was right. I saw headlights last night. The story spread like wildfire after that. Locals whispered about the ghost town order, about drivers who followed their GPS into the desert and vanished. The police chalked it up to runaways, freak accidents, or drug deals gone wrong. But truckers passing through late at night started reporting strange sights near mile 19, orange lights hovering above the sand, faint voices through their CB radio saying, "Delivery complete. Welcome home." And some swore that, during heavy storms, a neon sign flickers faintly in the distance. Mama Rosa's, pizza hot and fresh. Even though the real restaurant's been closed for years. One summer, a paranormal investigation team came looking. They had cameras, EMF scanners, thermal sensors. They set up camp where Cactus Hollow was supposed to be. The first night, all their recordings corrupted. Every file turned into static, except one. It lasted only 12 seconds. In the frame, the investigators are laughing, drinking beer, arguing over setup. Then a voice off camera, male, calm, familiar, says, "Hey, you guys deliver here too?" The camera jerks. The image warps. And in the final frame, you can just make out his face. Jake Mercer, smiling. Final report, Detective Marlene Tully, 2019, unpublished. Case Re, Missing Persons, J. Mercer, v. Russo, T. Ramos, et al. Summary, multiple disappearances linked to alleged Cactus Hollow region northwest of Flagstaff. All cell data terminates abruptly near Old Route 66, mile 19 marker. No physical evidence of a community in satellite imagery. Notes, upon site visit, anomalous EM interference caused radio and GPS failure. Team reported auditory hallucinations resembling human laughter. I personally observed a faint orange glow on the horizon at 2:14 a.m., followed by what appeared to be flickering street lights. The glow disappeared when approached. Conclusion: no conclusive proof of Cactus Hollow's existence. However, recovered Polaroids found near the site depict multiple subjects, some matching missing persons. Facial expressions consistent across all. Exaggerated smiles, reflective eyes. The film stock dates to early 1960s manufacturing. Personal note, I received an anonymous package today. Inside was a Mama Rosa's receipt, timestamped October 12, 1962, with my own name as the delivery driver. I've never worked there. But I keep hearing that jingle in my dreams. Musical note, welcome home, neighbor, welcome home to stay, musical note. Epilogue. The Loop. A year later, the Arizona Department of Transportation reopened the Route 66 bypass after long delays. The construction crew unearthed something during excavation, fragments of asphalt. Arranged like old driveways, melted mailboxes, and the charred frame of a wrought iron gate. On the gate, faint but legible beneath the soot, were the words, "Cactus Hollow, a place to call home." When they lifted the gate to move it, one of the workers found something wedged beneath the dirt. A cracked Polaroid camera, still holding one undeveloped shot. They took it to a restoration lab. The image that developed 3 days later showed a pizzeria counter, red tiles, neon sign glowing Mama Rosa's. And behind the counter stood dozens of smiling people in uniform. All of them identical. All of them Jake Mercer. Author's note, recovered from audio transcription. Every horror story starts with a rule. Deliver no matter what. Don't break the rules, don't ask questions. Don't turn back. Jake broke them all. And maybe that's why he's still out there, looping through the desert with a warm pizza and a dead radio, driving in circles around a town that refuses to die. The backwoods rules, Sam's tale. The first thing Sam Delgado learned at Pinewood Couriers was that the rules weren't optional. They were printed in block letters above the clock and screen. 1. Never enter a customer's home. 2. Avoid red-tagged mailboxes. 3. No deliveries after dusk. 4. Ignore animal carcasses on the road. 5. If you hear whispering in the trees, drive faster. Sam had laughed when he first saw them. By the end of his first week, he'd stopped laughing. He'd come a long way from Chicago, 6 months, 9 states, and 1 failed engagement ago. Now he was living out of a rented room in Bar Harbor, Maine, where the fog never seemed to lift and the pine trees whispered like gossipers. Pinewood Couriers wasn't UPS or FedEx. It was the kind of outfit that handled rural specials, parcels too strange or remote for big companies. Half the addresses didn't exist on GPS. Half the clients didn't answer the door. But it paid cash, and cash was what Sam needed. That evening, dispatcher Mara handed him the night's route sheet. "Only 4 stops," she said, chewing gum. "Keep it tight. You're new. So Hank says stay clear of anything red-tagged." Yeah, Sam said. "What's a red tag, anyway?" She blew a bubble. "You'll know if you see one. Just don't deliver there." He laughed. "That's helpful." She gave him a look that wasn't joking. "I'm serious, city boy. The woods don't like curious people." By the time Sam loaded the van, the sun was already dipping behind the black pines. Golden light bled across the road like an open wound. He checked his mirror. Taped to the dash was a photocopy of the rules, laminated, yellowed at the edges. The previous driver, someone named E. Miller, had scribbled on the bottom in red ink. "Don't break number 1 or number 3. Ever. Stop 1, the Blackwood house." The driveway was a tunnel of trees. The mailbox read A. Blackwood, letters carved deep into weathered wood. No lights inside, only a faint glow upstairs. Sam grabbed the padded envelope, walked up the creaking porch steps, and knocked. After a pause, the door opened 2 inches. A pale woman with thin gray hair peered out. Her eyes were the cloudy blue of worn glass. "Delivery?" "Yes, ma'am." He held out the envelope. Her hand, cold and bone-thin, reached through the gap. "Come inside, dear. It's so damp." He remembered rule number 1. "Sorry, ma'am. Company policy, can't enter homes." Her smile faltered. "It's only the foyer. The floor's uneven. I can't bend." Sam sighed. "I can't, ma'am." Her eyes flicked down the road, then back to him. "Suit yourself." She took the parcel, and the door closed with a soft click. As he turned to leave, he caught movement through the window, a man standing behind her in the dark. Tall, unmoving, eyes glinting like marbles. But when he looked again, there was nothing. Back in the van, he tried the radio. Only static. Stop 2, the red tag. 15 miles deeper into the woods, the fog thickened. He almost missed the mailbox, a rusted tin box nailed to a birch tree. A red plastic tag fluttered from it, stamped return. Mara's words echoed, "Don't deliver there." He slowed, engine idling, staring at the small package on the seat marked for that address. His Chicago instincts, the kind that told him rules were for suckers, whispered, "It's just a color." He grabbed the parcel. The moment he stepped out, the forest went silent. No crickets. No wind. Only the crunch of his boots on gravel. He opened the mailbox, empty. Then, from behind him, a branch cracked. Sam turned. Between the trees, something moved, low, fast, and pale. He caught a glimpse of flesh, mottled and hairless, like a man crawling on all 4s. Its head was wrong, long, smooth, jawless. The thing stopped 20 feet away, breathing wetly through a slit. Where a mouth should be. Sam dropped the package and sprinted for the van. As he slammed the door, claws scraped across the metal, long, deliberate. He peeled out, tires spraying mud. When he looked back, the red tag was gone. Stop 3, Agnes Blackwood's husband. He didn't want to stop again, but the GPS blinked insistently. The next address was less than a mile away, a stone house swallowed by moss. He knocked once. Twice. The same woman answered. A candle burned behind her, throwing shadows like vines across the walls. "Oh, it's you again," she said. "Come in now, dear. He wants to meet you." Sam stepped back. "No, ma'am. I just—" A shape appeared behind her shoulder. The man, if it was a man, stood stiff as a mannequin, skin wax gray, eyes wide and unmoving. "He doesn't talk much anymore," Agnes said softly. Fire took most of his breath. Sam's mouth went dry. "Ma'am, I have to go." "He likes visitors," she whispered. "Especially the young ones." The thing's head twitched. Its jaw creaked open, dry and slow, as if it hadn't moved in decades. Sam bolted for the van. In the mirror, the front door stayed open long after he'd gone. Branches arching overhead like ribs. He turned on the high beams, and immediately wished he hadn't. Something hung from a branch ahead. A deer, headless, its legs tied with twine, still dripping. He swerved, stomach twisting. Rule number 4 flashed in his mind: ignore carcasses. He didn't look back. At the next intersection, a sign appeared: Pinewood Courier Depot 8 miles, but below it, someone had scratched another line into the metal. "Don't follow the road." He pressed the gas harder. The van's headlights flickered. The engine coughed. Static filled the radio again, faint. Whispers buried under the noise. "Turn around. He likes the new ones. You broke the rules." Sam shut it off. When he finally reached the depot, it was past midnight. The yard was empty except for Hank's pickup. The building's windows glowed a dim amber, generator light. Inside, Hank was sitting at his desk, cigarette burning low. He looked up slowly. "You ran late." "Yeah," Sam said, trying to sound casual. "Fog." Hank nodded, exhaled smoke. "Fog'll do that." Sam hesitated. "Hank, can I ask, what happens if someone breaks the rules?" The old man stubbed out his cigarette. "You don't want to know." "I think I already do." Hank studied him for a long moment. Miller thought the same. He didn't listen either. What happened to him? Hank opened a drawer, took out a Polaroid, and slid it across the desk. It showed a delivery van half buried in mud, door wide open. On the windshield, written in something dark, were 4 words. "Rules keep you human." Hank said quietly, "You broke 2 tonight. Don't make it 3. Sam drove home in silence, hard hammering, headlights cutting tunnels through the fog. When he pulled into his driveway, "Pick it up." Then, from inside the woods, he heard whispering. Not words. Just sound, soft, urgent, like hundreds of voices breathing his name. He backed into the van and locked the doors. By dawn, the package was gone. The fog didn't lift for 3 days. Maine had a way of blurring everything: sound, distance, memory. Sam kept thinking about the red-tagged package. About the whispering. About the thing that moved like a man but wasn't. He tried to tell himself it was fatigue, that he'd imagined the eyes in the dark. But whenever he looked in the rearview mirror, he could swear the trees were closer than before. On the 4th morning, Hank handed him a short route sheet and said, "Stay to the paved roads today. You're not ready for the forest runs." Sam forced a grin. "You're worried about me, boss?" "Just the van," Hank said, deadpan. "You're replaceable." "She's not." The first delivery was simple: a box of medicine to an old fisherman on the bay. Normal. Mundane. Safe. It almost made him believe the rest had been a nightmare. Almost. Until he saw the next address on the list. Maud Weaver, 43, Elm Hollow Road. Mara, the dispatcher, noticed his hesitation. "You got Weaver?" she asked. "Yeah." "Something wrong with her?" Mara smirked, but her gum stopped popping. "Let's just say she likes company. Don't drink anything she offers." "You." The road to Elm Hollow wound through thick forest. The deeper he drove, the quieter it got. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Her cottage appeared like something out of a fairy tale. Ivy crawling over wood, chimney coughing smoke, a string of dried herbs hanging from the porch. He knocked. The door creaked open. Maud Weaver was small, bird-boned, and smiling with too many teeth. "Delivery, dear?" Her voice was sweet, trembling like an old record. "Yes, ma'am." He handed her the small package. Come in, come in. You look chilled to the bone." Rule number 1 echoed in his head, never enter a customer's home. "I really can't, ma'am." "Policy." "Oh, nonsense," she said, waving a hand. "Just for a moment. I've got hot cider on the stove. Real Maine apples." Her eyes glittered. Something about her tone, too smooth, too rehearsed, made his skin crawl. He stepped back. "Appreciate it, but I've got more stops." Her smile faltered. Then she said, almost kindly, "That's a shame. You'd have loved my basement." She shut the door. Sam stood frozen for a second, heart thudding, before heading back to the van. Through the fogged window, he saw her silhouette still there, standing perfectly still, facing the road until he disappeared around the bend. He told himself to go home, to turn around and be done with Pinewood couriers for good. But curiosity is its own sickness. And Sam Delgado had always been a slow learner. That night, he drove back. The cottage was dark. The door unlocked. Inside smelled of herbs and rot. In the kitchen, a single mug of cider steamed on the table. Beside it, a photo pinned under a knife. The picture showed 5 men sitting around the same table, cups raised. All of them delivery drivers. All of them smiling too wide. The 6th chair, empty. Footsteps creaked overhead. Sam ducked into the shadows just as Maud's voice floated down the stairs. "I told you he'd come back." "They always do." Another voice answered, wet, slurred, male. "Can I have his hands this time?" Sam's pulse thundered. He slipped out the back door, breath ragged, and didn't stop running until he hit the road. When he looked back, light glowed from the basement windows, not candlelight, but something pulsing, red and alive. He didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside his motel room made him flinch. He could hear things moving in the trees. Heavy, deliberate. When dawn came, he drove straight to the depot. Mara was already there, typing on the old desktop, her usual smirk gone. "You look like you saw the Weaver thing." Sam dropped his keys on the counter. "What the hell is she?" Mara glanced around to make sure Hank wasn't listening. Then she leaned in. "A collector." "Of what?" "Men," she said simply. "Been here since before the company. Before the logging roads. She gives the forest something, and it gives her more time." Sam stared. "You're joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" Mara's gum popped again, loud and sharp. "Rule number 1 exists because she invites you in. Once you step over that line, you're hers." He swallowed. "And the red tags?" Mara hesitated. "Old contracts. They don't expire. Neither do the clients." He drove to the river later that afternoon just to clear his head. The woods were quieter than usual. Too quiet, no birds, no wind. The reflection of the pines on the water looked like black teeth. He took out his phone and snapped a picture, thinking he'd send it to a friend later. When he checked the screen, there was something in the image, behind him. A face in the water. pale. Smiling. He spun around. Nothing. Then he noticed the sound, whispering again. Louder this time. Coming from the trees. You're learning the rules. But not fast enough. He ran back to the van, slammed the door, and turned the ignition. The engine roared to life, and the radio came on by itself. Attention Pinewood drivers, a woman's voice crackled. New protocol in effect. Deliveries after dusk will be reassigned. It was Mara's voice. But warped. Slowed down. Like it had been recorded underwater. That night, Sam stopped at a diner outside Ellsworth just to eat somewhere that had lights and people. A few locals sat at the counter, murmuring. The waitress, older woman, poured coffee and gave him a polite smile. You from Pinewood? She asked. He blinked. How'd you know? She tapped her temple. We can tell. You've got the look. The ones who drive those roads, they stop sleeping right. He forced a laugh. You sound like you've seen a few of us. Her face went blank. Used to be married to one. Sam froze. What happened to him? She shrugged, eyes glassy. He forgot the rules. When he left the diner, the night had swallowed the sky. The road back to Bar Harbor wound through a stretch of forest so dense as high beams couldn't pierce it. Halfway through, the engine sputtered. The radio whispered. He checked the clock, 10:13 p.m. He'd broken rule number 3 again. Fog poured over the asphalt like breath. Something thudded on the roof. Once. Twice. He hit the brakes, jumped out with his flashlight. Nothing. Just silence. Then he saw it, handprints on the van roof. Small. Child-sized. The beam caught movement near the ditch, a little girl, barefoot, hair tangled, wearing a nightgown soaked in mud. She looked up at him and smiled. Mister, you dropped this. In her hands, a bundle of delivery slips bound with twine. All of them stamped Pinewood Couriers. He reached out cautiously. Where'd you get those? From the basement, she said sweetly. What basement? She pointed behind him. He turned. The forest had changed, trees warped into the outlines of buildings, crooked and half-formed. A ghostly town made of mist and bark. And in the center, a sign. Pinewood Couriers, always on time. When he turned back, the girl was gone. Sam drove until morning, white-knuckled, the rules flashing in his mind like scripture. He pulled into the depot lot. Heart still hammering. Hank was waiting. You delivered after dusk. Sam nodded numbly. Something followed me back. Hank sighed. It always does. He handed Sam a small wooden box. Soft, deliberate. When he looked, there was a new sign nailed to the tree in his yard. New rule number 6, never quit. Sam Delgado hadn't slept in 2 nights. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the forest, those endless black pines pressing against his windshield, whispering his name. He'd wake drenched in sweat, gasping, sure he'd heard footsteps outside his window. The rules had changed. Someone, or something, was writing new ones. That morning, when he came out to the van, the paper with the rules, the same one taped to his dashboard, had been rewritten in. The same neat block letters as before. But this time, there were 6. 1. Never enter a customer's home. 2. Avoid red-tagged mailboxes. 3. No deliveries after dusk. 4. Ignore animal carcasses. 5. If you hear whispering, drive faster. 6. Never quit. The 6th rule wasn't written yesterday. He was sure of it. But it was there now, as if it had always been. Mara wasn't at dispatch when he arrived. Hank sat in her chair instead, eyes red from no sleep, a map of Maine spread out in front of him. You're late, he muttered. Didn't have a route, Sam said. You didn't call. I didn't need to, Hank replied. You're already on one. Sam frowned. What? Hank slid a small parcel across the desk. It was wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. The label read, simply, for Sam. Deliver to the forest. Very funny, Sam said. Who made this? No one here, Hank said quietly. It was sitting on your van when I got in. He stared at the package. The paper was damp, smelling faintly of earth. Deliver to the forest, he repeated. That's not even an address. Hank didn't answer. His hands trembled as he lit a cigarette. Some jobs find you. Delgado, he said finally. Rule 6 means you don't walk away. Sam shook his head. I didn't sign up for whatever this is. Yes, you did, Hank said softly. The second you broke Rule 3. By noon, the fog had rolled in again, thick enough to erase the horizon. Sam sat in the van with the engine idling, the mysterious parcel on the passenger seat. Every instinct told him to throw it out the window. Instead, he drove. The GPS blinked nonsense coordinates. The compass spun in lazy circles. The forest thickened until the road disappeared beneath roots and gravel. He passed a rusted sign half buried in moss. Pinewood Test Route, authorized vehicles only. He didn't remember it being there before. The first body lay by the side of the road. A deer. Or maybe a dog, bloated, headless, its ribs picked clean. Rule 4 said ignore carcasses, but it was hard to ignore one that big. As he drove past, something in the underbrush turned its head to follow him. A pale face, low to the ground, crawling on hands and knees. He pressed the gas, tires spitting mud. After an hour, he reached a clearing where the pines gave way to dead grass and stones arranged in rough circles. The air shimmered, faintly electrical, and for a moment his radio crackled to life. Delivery confirmed, hold for next route. Mara, he said. Grabbing the mic, is that you? You're close now, Sam. Don't be late. The voice was hers, but not quite. It was hollow, echoing, like it was coming from underground. At the center of the clearing stood a house, or what was left of one. Stone foundation, collapsed roof, a front door hanging by a hinge. He killed the engine, stepped out, and felt the temperature drop. Inside, the air smelled of wet soil and iron. A single candle burned on a table in the middle of the ruined room. Next to it, a handwritten note. Leave the parcel on the table. Don't turn around until you hear the knock. Sam's pulse thundered. Screw this. But something moved behind him, soft, deliberate footsteps on wood. He didn't turn. He placed the parcel on the table. The candle flickered. Knock. Once. He spun around. No one. The door was open again, wind howling through. The parcel was gone. He bolted back to the van, and froze. The driver's door was open. The seat was empty. But someone, or something, had written across the windshield in fogged breath. Thank you. He drove until the road turned to gravel and the trees began to thin. When he finally saw the first hint of civilization, a gas station sign, he almost cried with relief. He pulled in, heart still hammering. The neon letters buzzed weakly, Earl's Gas and Supply. A man stepped out from behind the counter, tall, thin, unblinking. Evenin', driver, he said. Rain's got teeth tonight, don't it? Sam froze. I've heard that before. Sure you have. Earl's smile didn't move. Company likes to. Born. Sam's stomach twisted. What do they deliver? Earl's grin widened. Souls, son. And you're the latest shipment. The gas lights flickered. Earl vanished. Sam stumbled back, breathing fast. The world outside the windows was shifting again, the forest pressing closer, the sky bleeding into gray. He jumped in the van and sped off, tires screaming. The radio flared with static. Then a voice, Hank's, came through, ragged and distant. Delgado. You listening? Don't come back to the depot. It's not safe. The routes are merging. The line cut to a scream, then silence. He drove through the night, guided only by instinct. Every few miles, he saw glimpses of people standing at the roadside, delivery uniforms, pale faces, motionless. Some of them held packages. Some of them held nothing at all. Their eyes followed him until the fog swallowed them. At dawn, he reached the coast. The sea was gray, violent, endless. He parked near the cliffs and got out. And in front of it, a small figure was waving. The girl from the woods. She smiled. You brought it, didn't you? Sam's voice cracked. Brought what? The forest, she said. It follows the couriers now. She pointed inland. The pines were moving, literally moving, roots tearing through the soil as the entire forest crawled toward the coast like a living thing. Sam ran. He drove until his gas tank screamed empty and the world behind him was nothing but smoke and shadow. He didn't stop until he hit an old bridge crossing into New Hampshire. There, on the other. Then his phone buzzed, one new message. Welcome to the expansion team, Sam. Rule 7 coming soon. He laughed then, an exhausted, broken sound that didn't feel like his own. The whispering started. Again, rising from the forest below. It said his name. It said deliver. Sam climbed back into the van, turned the key, and drove into the rising sun. Behind him, the forest followed. When Sam Delgado crossed into New Hampshire, the whispering didn't stop. It hid beneath the noise of the tires, the hum of the engine, the wind against the van. Sometimes it sounded like laughter. Other times, like the voices of the drivers who'd gone missing. But it was always there. Always waiting. The Pinewood Courier's logo on his van had changed overnight. No longer the green pine and white mountain, it was black now, the tree twisted into a spiral. And beneath it, a new slogan. We deliver forever. He found a motel on the outskirts of Keene, the kind with flickering lights and a half-dead clerk. He paid in cash and parked where he could keep an eye on the van. Inside the room, the air smelled of mildew and something else, like pine sap and old blood. He didn't turn on the TV. He didn't need distraction. He needed answers. He spread the route slips, Polaroids, and scraps of the printed rules across the bedspread. Each one looked older now, as if decades had passed since he first handled them. The ink had faded, but one line stood out on every page, handwritten in the same neat style. Rule 7 pending. Around midnight, there was a knock at his door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. He froze. The sound was polite, almost gentle, but heavy enough to make the walls tremble. Who is it? He called. It's Mara, came the voice. Only it wasn't Mara's voice, it was thinner, drained of warmth. Like a recording played backward. He gripped the handle but didn't open it. You're not her. I'd been her, the voice said softly. For a while. The peephole showed only darkness. Then, slowly, a face leaned into view, pale, featureless, except for a mouth that stretched too wide when it smiled. You need to finish your route, Sam. They're waiting. He stumbled backward as the lock began to rattle. The voice came through the walls now, through the static hum of the air conditioner. Rule 6 keeps you working. Rule 7 sets you free. The lights flickered once, then went out. When they came back on, the door was open. A package sat on the floor, identical to the first, brown paper, string. No return address. The label read, Final delivery. Hand to the rollmaker. He left the motel at dawn. The van's engine started before he turned the key. The radio came alive on its own. "Good morning, driver," Mara's voice cooed, bright again, rehearsed. "We've updated your route. Please follow the markers." Outside, road signs had changed. The green highway markers now bore the Pinewood logo, twisting spirals that pointed north toward the mountains. He drove. The trees returned first, tall, black, breathing in the mist. Then the fog thickened until the world was a tunnel. When it cleared, he was back in Maine. Back where he'd started. The Pinewood depot stood ahead, lights glowing through the haze. But it wasn't the same building. The walls were older. Built of logs blackened by time. The windows were sealed shut, the roof sagging. The sign out front read, "Pinewood Couriers, established 1902. Sam's breath caught. No, that's not right. He stepped inside. The air was thick, metallic, humming faintly. Rows of desks filled the room, each one occupied by silent, gray-skinned figures wearing Pinewood uniforms. They stared straight ahead, hands moving in perfect rhythm, stamping papers, sorting boxes, sealing packages that looked suspiciously organic. Their faces didn't move, but they were breathing, just barely. Mara stood at the far end, smiling. Or what was left of her. Half her face had dissolved into wood grain. Her hair was a weave of pine needles. Her eyes were hollow knots. "Welcome back, Sam," she said. "You've done so well." "What are you?" His voice cracked. "What is this place?" She smiled wider. "We keep the balance. Every road, every forest, every lost town, they all need couriers. People to carry the old things forward. I didn't agree to this." "You didn't have to," she said. "The forest chooses its drivers." The walls around them began to shift, slowly pulsing. Like the inside of something living. The desk sank into the floor, replaced by thick roots crawling with veins of light. From the center of the room, a shape began to rise, a massive figure. Human in outline but carved from bark and bone, its limbs tangled in cables and vines. Its face was smooth, eyeless, but its voice was everywhere. "Samuel Delgado. You broke the rules. You fed the forest. Now you will write the next one." Sam's knees buckled. No, I just wanted a job. I just wanted to escape," the rulemaker said. "And yet you delivered yourself." The roots slithered closer, brushing his boots, curling around his legs. He struggled, but the floor swallowed him up to the knees. "Please," he gasped. "Let me go." "There is no go. There is only continue." The rulemaker extended one wooden hand. In its palm, a pen made of bone and ash. "Right." Sam screamed, but the sound was devoured by the forest. His hand moved. Without his will, fingers clutching the pen. The wood beneath him unfolded into a flat surface, smooth as paper. He began to write, the words carving themselves in glowing letters across the floor. Rule 7, deliver to the next. Never stop the route. Never stop the road. When the final word left the pen, the forest exhaled, a sound like wind and laughter and screams combined. The lights died. And when they came back, Sam was gone. Only the pen remained, lying where he'd stood. 6 months later. A new driver clocked in at the Pinewood Couriers Depot. Her name tag read, L. Ramirez. She was handed her first route and a thin packet of rules, printed neatly on old yellow paper. 6 rules, standard. But at the bottom, written in ink darker than the rest, was a new one. 7, deliver to the next. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? The dispatcher smiled, a tall man in a clean uniform, his eyes a little too still. Company policy, he said. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. His name tag read S. Delgado. Addendum, Hank's tape, recovered 2014. If you're hearing this, Pinewood's still running routes. That means the rulemaker hasn't gone back to sleep. You think it's a delivery company, but it's not. It's a system, a circulation. Every road that dead ends, every town that burns, every forest that eats the people who wander too far, they're all connected. The couriers keep the line open. They carry what's left of the world so it doesn't rot completely. But every so often, the road gets hungry, and it takes one of us. That's the cost of Rule 7. Someone always has to keep driving. Epilogue: the forest expands. In late October, hikers in Acadia National Park found an abandoned delivery van deep in the woods. The logo on the side was half peeled away, but the words were still visible. Pinewood Couriers, always on time. Inside, the seats were covered in moss. On the dashboard, a fresh route sheet. Waited. The destination field was blank, except for one handwritten note. The next driver will know where to go. When they opened the glove box, they found a map of the eastern seaboard, every major road drawn in faint green ink. The line didn't stop in Maine this time. It ran south, through New York, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and west, toward Arizona.